Okay, great to see so many of you on the chat today. Welcome. My name is Amanda Coreishy. Welcome to the Trouble at Taboo Junction podcast. I think this might be the first time for many of you. We have some fantastic guests on today. We're going to be talking about independent publishing, not so much from the point of view of an independent publishing small press, but from the point of view of the author who chooses to publish on their own without the assistance of an external publisher and take charge of the process. Right, so now to start introducing our guests, first I will introduce Scarlet Ibis James. Scarlet, you want to give a wave? Scarlet is originally from Trinidad and Tobago, but definitely a New Yorker. She's the award-winning author of 2 short story collections about love and relationships. That's Beyond First Glance and Scarlet Yearnings, as well as 2 novellas, my favorite of which is Scarlet Birthright. Scarlet has recently been named a panelist. No, what am I saying? I'm reading nonsense here. Scarlet has recently been a panelist at the Bocas Literary Festival in Trinidad, one of Caribbean's most vibrant and well-known literary festivals. So welcome, Scarlet. Now to introduce Dale. Dale is originally from Jamaica. Give a little wave, Dave. Dale. He's now resident in Florida and is the author of When Trees Fall, a beautifully written work of historical and cultural fiction, also a family saga inspired by his mother's family history. Dale has also published his mother's poetic memoir and writes poetry of his own, some of which is shared on Substack, and he's in the process of writing the sequel to When Trees Fall, Up From Mountains, this time inspired by his Lebanese father's side of the family. Dale and his wife offer writing support services, helping with editing, formatting, and other aspects of the publishing process. Dale is an English teacher who's taught college courses for Florida International University for 10 years and has had a long history of teaching, well beyond that 10 years, if I understand correctly, Dale. And you've supported 2 of your students through the process of independently publishing their books. Now to introduce Jasmaine Payne. Jasmine, do you want to give a little wave? Jasmine is the author of the award-winning psychological thriller, Leech, which I am now in the middle of reading. It is described as a page-turner, and I can confirm that it is indeed a page-turner. Jasmine has broken new ground as, writing sort of first of its kind by a female author based in Guyana, because there's not a lot of writing in that genre of the psychological thriller coming out of Guyana. Jasmine feels passionately about supporting emerging writers and building better infrastructure for writers in the Caribbean, and she's well placed to do so as an experienced communications, marketing, and public relations professional. So as you can see, we have an experienced crew, I think, 3 wonderful writers who have lots of answers to lots of questions to guide us on our journey in our understanding of what it takes to publish independently. My first question to each of our guests: what has been your greatest satisfaction from independently publishing your work? Scarlett, do you want to go first?
Thank you for that question. And thank you for having me, and to my co-panelists and everything. I just love the joy here. For me, being able to have my book available for people to get their hands on and read has been amazing. I feel that is the most, to be able to say that my books are available globally and at libraries everywhere. Yes, that has been just one, but many different things, but that has been one of the most amazing things about this self-publishing journey. What about you, Dale?
All right. Hey, again, thank you for inviting me. It's been good to be back a second time and to now work with my fellow panelists, a great group of people. Yeah, I think just the biggest thing initially when I wrote my novel initially was to kind of tell my mother's story, fictionalized that story, and eventually I had bigger goals for it. But more than anything, just happy to have gotten that story out in the world, and then now working on getting my father's side of the story out. So it's been a joy.
Jasmine, what would you say
All
has
right.
been your greatest satisfaction from self-publishing your
All
work?
right. Good afternoon, everyone, and just fellow nod to my co-panelists. Definitely the personal interaction that I've been able to get with my readers, which I'm thinking if I was traditionally published, or maybe if I published and I just put it online and said, hey, it's available on Amazon, I don't think I would have been able to get that. Just being able to sit with almost everyone who's read the book, which thankfully is a lot of people, and just getting that feedback, because some of that feedback actually went into getting my second book, so which is a sequel. So I think it's just an immeasurable experience to be able to just interact with your readers personally.
Lovely. So today what we're discussing is what I would call the business end of self-publishing, not so much the writing process, but everything that happens after you've gotten the writing together. But before we really get into that, it so happens that Scarlett, Dale, myself, and Jasmine, all of us are on Substack. So I just wanted to ask a little Substack question. I know not everybody uses Substack, but definitely some of our viewers will be some of the later viewers of the podcast will be Substack users. So for writers wondering if setting up on Substack is worth their time, what would you say? Let's start with Dale first this time.
Yeah, I've used Substack since about 22, and I took a break and then I came back. And I think it's definitely a great way to build an audience. And as Jasmine said, also to be able to connect with your audience. It's, there's good tools for that. But I've enjoyed it. I think it's a great tool. Both it's sort of turned into social media as well as newsletter type email situations, but I think it's worth it. It's worth exploring it, certainly. As time has gone by, I've used it a little differently. Right now, I'm kind of moving more to a monthly newsletter update, which will give me more time to work on actually finishing my novel. So you can kind of adjust as you go along.
Thank you, Dale. Scarlett?
Yeah, so I started on Substack really because a lot of my fellow writers from Medium.com, where I started, moved to Substack or started moving to Substack. But what I have found amazing about it as an author is the ability to really connect with people personally. So as Jasmine said, like connecting with readers is one of the thrills of being an independent publisher. And Substack allows you to do that in an amazing way, and also to attract more people to your books. I've gained a lot of followership from Substack. I find it very, oh, last thing, the ability to send newsletters. So Dale, yes, monthly. I tend to do at least a newsletter once a month, but I also seed a lot of my writing through Substack. So it's really an ability to get people introduced to my writing as well. And then the notes, I find it very positive. I told Amanda recently that I think it's what I look for. I actually attract that to my Substack. So I have heard people who've complained that Substack may not be positive. And I think ask for what you want. Like I follow and I comment and I connect with people who I'm in sync with. And I love that ability to have a positive social experience more than just posting to get something. I'm really using it to connect with people and to provide content that people might be interested in.
Yeah, and I think for anyone starting on Substack, I think you can kind of curate it to suit yourself. If you start looking at a lot of politics, you're going to get a lot of politics. If you're interested in interacting with writers or readers, you use it. You have to use it strategically. You can't just be random and expect to get strategic results. But when it comes to actually deciding that your work is ready to be published, you are your own gatekeeper, and in a sense that's perhaps the best thing about indie publishing, and it's also the worst thing about indie publishing, because if your work isn't ready, it's perhaps, there are pros and cons to getting it out there in an incomplete state. So how does a writer know that they're ready to move into that stage, that the work of creating the book is finished? And let me start with Jasmine.
So I've actually learned, because I'm a debut novelist, I was thankful to learn the entire process as though I was traditionally publishing. And I know that at least 4 to 5 drafts is what your book has to go through. And that's your first draft, which is the messy draft. The second draft, where you go to a developmental editor. The third draft, where you clean that up and probably go to your beta readers. And then you go back to your developmental editors to see if you did it right. Fourth draft is when you probably copy edit and proofread. Or if you split it up, it goes to a fifth draft. So I think just being able to put it through that that intense process. But after that, every stage you see it become cleaner and smoother and into a whole story that's more welcomed by a larger group of people. So yeah.
Dale, any thoughts on anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I think for me at least, I wanted my book, anything I published, to be kind of like the big 5 publishers. So I was willing to put the time, the effort, the aggravation, the money to get the editors. My wife, thankfully, even when I finally ordered like a set of them, she said, stop, because she read it for the 100 millionth time. She's an editor as well. Stop the order. And it was too late to stop the order. So I've kind of made those, fun. But, yeah, I want it to be the best it can be. So I'm willing to go through anything. Somebody may want to just get it out there and is willing to have some mistakes, and that's okay. But for me, no, it has to be top notch.
Thank you, Dale and Jasmine. Any thoughts, Scarlett?
Okay, so so yes to what Jasmine said. And I would say even the arcs. So as I got advanced readers, their feedback as well played into changes that I made. Publishing. So I would say to a lot of people who are thinking about publishing, it is important, as Dale say, to get your best foot forward. But it doesn't have to be perfect. And there are many, even for traditionally published manuscripts, it goes out with mistakes. Because even if it goes through all of those things, it may have mistakes. Or you'll find a lot of very popular or acclaimed writers, their first run is different from their second run, is different from their third runs. Tiny things may change. And so I really encourage people to get your story to a place where you feel confident that you've told the best story that you can. Put it into the hands of editors. Trust your intuition as they come back to you with suggestions, but don't chase perfection. We're human. It is beautiful when it's not quite perfect. And you may change and do a different edition. There's always an option, right? And so I think for me, the only thing that I would put on top of that, don't chase perfection. It's not going to be perfect, period. It can always be better, but it doesn't have to exist in perfection. Yeah.
I think we've got like 3 different yet similar takes on that, and I'm sure that our listeners can sort of pull that all together and make sense of it for themselves. If you could publish that first book again, what would you do differently? Maybe the answer is nothing, but maybe the answer is something, and that's a very broad sort of question.
I would do it all over. I cannot wait to redo mine. I think that at maybe my first book, it was very deadline driven, to be honest with you. I actually did a second edition already.
But wasn't that your own deadline? You created that deadline.
I created that deadline. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I'm deadline driven. So I had a deadline. It was going out. It went out.
Okay.
even at that point, getting feedback from folks. But again, I didn't look at all the things that you're learning from us today, right? So about beta readers, all that, I didn't know. I did not know about it, nor did I take the time really to do that. But it was lovely to get it out, and it still got great reviews. It's still very strong. It's a very strong entry. I do contemplate maybe after 5 years or something like that, putting out another edition of it, a different edition that will definitely reflect my growth as a writer. Because as a writer, you continue to change with every book that you put out. You're going to continue to learn and grow. And so yes, I would change a lot, Amanda. But then, in real life, I'm a change management consultant, so I'm a believer that people can change and books can change too.
That's a funny one. Jasmine, what about you? Was there anything that you would do differently about your process? It doesn't necessarily have to be about the book that you would change, but maybe anything you might do differently in the publishing process. Yeah.
I would probably be one of those people that say I wouldn't change a thing, because my book took 12 years to be published. And,
Wow.
I took all of that time because I had to stop and learn a little bit more, research a little bit more. So it was a very slow process. No, I was saying that it just really helped to contribute to where the book is now and how it's being received. So I wouldn't change it personally.
Fantastic. Any thoughts
Yeah.
there on?
Yeah, so again, it took me 13 years as well, Jasmine. So I'm right there with you. A lot of that was just the time. I didn't have the time to write, but I am a little bit of a perfectionist, Scarlett. So, I write a paragraph and then I edit it till it's till I've killed it and I moved on to the next one. And have to take F. Scott Fitzgerald, guy who wrote The Great Gatsby, as he did the same thing. So at least I'm in good company. Now, whether my writing is as good as that, I doubt it's as good. But yeah, so I guess the thing from this is everybody approaches it differently, and you have to be comfortable with what you are doing. So
Lovely, lovely. And now, cover art is critical. Um, well, I suppose if you're in the marketplace and you're not just getting your book out to friends and family who want to support you, cover art is critical. What would you want listeners to know about how to go about getting a cover that will be right for their book? Who wants to take that first?
I can try. I would say to know what your book is about, know what the other books in your genre, what is the trend at the time. What I've found very interesting that I've been observing is that many of the books that are in the fictional, in either contemporary romance or lit fic categories, they go through changes as well. So if you want your book to be marketable, it needs to deliver on the promise of the genre. People who buy the books have to be able to recognize that this is a book in the genre that they are interested in. And so I think doing comparatives on whatever platforms you look at, whether it's Waterstones or Barnes and Noble or Amazon, looking at those comparables to get a sense for what is there. And then I think having an artist or a cover designer, not just an artist may do something very beautiful, but it may not be in the genre. So someone who is familiar with books and book design, I think is good to be able to get the best bang for your buck, I think, as far as getting things. But there are many ways of doing things. I see Ronaldo is on. He designed his own cover, which is very interesting and eclectic, right? But again, it's how your readers will identify. The readers who don't know you will be able to identify what is your genre, will it deliver? And I do think investing in someone who does this for a living or does this on a routine basis is necessary to be truly marketable,
So,
in my opinion.
Dale and Jasmine, I see you nodding. Anything to add to that, or has Scarlett got that covered?
just because I'm a little bit of a rebel, I feel like I'm just such a spoiled child. I am just a full creative, and Harold Bascom, who's in the room, would probably would probably see with me. But whatever I feel should be on this cover, I'll put it out and be like, you know what? I hope you accept it. I hope you like it. But this is my vision. But for the actual, I probably will try to be a bit more strategic, like Scarlett is saying, just because the market is what the market is, and sometimes you just have to conform sometimes, but not without, for me, not without giving. I won't give up my creative vision, right? For this particular one, I worked so hard. I think I went through 5 artists and I still didn't get it right at the end. Um, like the book was about to be launched a month before and I still didn't have the cover. So it was a lot of anxiety and I just should have gone with what I wanted in the beginning. So, I think it's just that balance you have to strike.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I had a different cover to begin with for When Trees Fall. It was much more. I don't know. I think it was good. I really liked it, but I actually changed my title and my cover to make it more marketable. And now I'm even thinking I actually have the second cover already made. Which what I did is for the first one, I told my cover designer, please make the second one, and then I put it in the back of the first one. Um, I am wrestling with whether I should change them or not. Again, I'm going to do some market research and that sort of thing. But the nice thing is that, for instance, Scarlett was talking about another edition of her novel. She'll have the option to put a whole new cover on that's more marketable at that time. So I think the key is if you want your book to sell, yes, a book. What do they say? Don't judge a book by the cover, but we all know we do that. So absolutely.
I think this is another area where you can leverage your mailing list. You did this, Amanda, where you showed the covers to your mailing list and had them rate the covers. You can do it to your mailing list, to the people who love and support you. You can also do it, there are very inexpensive programs out there where you can send your things to real humans and have them choose based on your genre which one. And I think it's worth it to do that, to get. And again, I think, Jasmine, the thing is, you never really give up your control, right? It always, at the end of the day, you have the choice of what that looks like. But knowing what the market is wanting is important.
Thank you for that, everyone.
And yes, by the way, the way you
Yes.
did your cover design was perfect. I agree with Scarlett, and it's a beautiful cover.
Thank you. We had a lot of collaboration between myself and the designer, and as Scarlett would know from our conversations that we had, the first designs he sent me, they weren't quite right, and there's a part of me that could have not wanted to confront him, but it's an investment and it's going to make a big difference to, well, I have to take responsibility for that cover. I can't be like, I don't want to step on your toes. Because it's not that the designs were ugly or anything or wrong, but I just didn't think they were going to be right for the book. So then I had to kind of dig deep and really think, what does this book need? What is, I had to put a lot of thought into it, and then the communication with the artist was important because we needed to be a team. I didn't want to offend him, but at the same time I needed to give him some guidance, and at the same time I needed to trust in his artistic abilities. So it was that kind of collaboration. I had to make sure that I realized that I had to trust him if I was going to keep working with him. And I actually went into his Substack and started looking at his some of the articles that he wrote about trusting your artist, and I think emotionally at that point I realized I need to step back a little bit. I've made a decision. There was a reason I chose this guy. It was because I trusted that he would be able to deliver. So it was a case of, let me trust him and let me explain what I'm looking for and what I think might work better, and give him some space, and eventually something emerged that we were both very proud of. So that was a story of collaboration, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like the term self-publishing, because you're not really self-publishing. You're getting a lot of people involved. You're in charge. You're creating the team. It's not like if Penguin or Hatchet is publishing for you, and then they are creating the team, and you are part of the team, and this is you are the one in charge of the team. You're choosing your team members.
That's a good point, Amanda. Because
independent publishing, indie publishing.
Yeah, you're right. I think in the industry, they're now trying to shift it towards referring to it as independent publishing, which I actually appreciated as well, just for what you're saying.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic. So, what's your favorite tool in the box that you would want everyone to know about? By tool in the box, I mean very, very broadly. Like, if it's their formatting program that you really love, or is it the meditation that you do on a daily basis? Like, what tool in the box have you got that you want to share with other people who are on
Oh, go ahead, Scarlett.
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So my latest tool that I really love is, let me get it right here, my fountain pen.
Oh, wow.
And my pad. So what I found when I was on the computer, I was going here, going there. I was drawn in all sorts of different, let me check out what a good word is for this, that sort of thing. But when I forced myself with a beautiful pen that I love, this fountain pen, reminds me of my school days. Who used to use a fountain pen in their school days? I'm the only one?
No.
We all do. Okay. So I find that if I write out the scene or the chapter or whatever I'm working on, and so it's flowing out of me naturally, and that doesn't mean I still might not look up like a historical fact or something like that on the computer, then I use that and I rewrite it so it becomes my second draft, and then from there, that sort of thing. So that's my latest thing that I love, and I don't think I'll ever go
very
back.
High tech, babe. Very high tech.
Yes.
Scarlett,
I think
anything?
You know what? So I use so many tools, but I would say the one today that I love, actually, Amanda, you introduced me to it. It's Vellum, because prior to using Vellum, I used to do everything in Word. It was very hard to format my books, because I did all my interior formatting myself. And it was very hard. I couldn't figure out how to do the top. Like, it was just, but honey, you introduced me to Vellum, and I have not looked back. I think, did I use it for, no, I didn't use it for any of the books recently published, but there's a couple of reader magnets that I'm doing that I used it for. And definitely the next one that I'm going to be doing is Margaret's story, and I'm using it for that. It is amazing. I did it actually. I'm doing a special edition of Love in the Dark for an event coming up. Used it. Amanda, thank you. Because Vellum, oh my goodness, just beautiful. And the ability to export it to all these different platforms, and it changes automatically. Godsend. They just need to add Book Vault, and I'll be happy.
So we've been using some tools of the trade here, and I would tell you a year ago I wouldn't really have known exactly what Atticus and Vellum do, know what interior formatting really means. I just know that you have to format the book, and I didn't really know what it meant. So I had to go through the process to start understanding what it meant. So Atticus and Vellum, you can use them for writing, but they're often used strictly for formatting. Vellum, I think, is only compatible with Apple products. Is that right?
They do Kindle.
You
yeah,
sure not mixing it up with Atticus?
No, I don't use Atticus. But when you export, you can export to Kindle. They have Apple, but it has Kindle. It has all the different ones, and then it has PDF, and it has generic EPUB as well.
Okay.
So the
I think what Amanda is saying is, in other words, the program runs, the formatting program Vellum only runs on a Mac.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I only use Macs.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's why I didn't know that. Okay, so that's fair enough. So what formatting is preparing the text for printing or for electronic publishing as well. So in other words, okay, how to put it? You know, when you are writing a letter, there's certain patterns that you observe, which are conventions, which allow people to recognize this as a letter and accept it as a letter. For the book trade to, you know, if you want to say, interpret your information in such a way that it's going to end up looking like the book that you want it to look like, you have to go through certain steps. And these tools, Atticus and Vellum, enable self-published authors to do it for themselves. So has everyone given us, Jasmine, what is your special?
No, Atticus is definitely one of mine in my toolbox, but Atticus paired with Scrivener or Scrivener, still don't know how to pronounce it. Scrivener has cleaned up my life, because indeed I had everything in Word and multiple documents, and they were all in one little folder, and you're back and forth. But now you can just throw everything into Scrivener, and then just move it around. I recently changed the entire plot structure for my second book, so I was just able to take that one folder and just put it in another place and then start a new structure. So it really helps me. Scrivener is, I've introduced so many people to it, and it's like a little magic box. And then Atticus for bringing everything together for the layout, the typesetting. It's like a one-stop. You just put your initial settings, and I'm in the process of learning it better, because of course it gives you, Amanda, you would know because you mentioned it gives you your specific format, your layouts, but you can also make new ones. So I'm about to make new ones so that they can look a little different, because everybody's using those ones that are provided. So it's a lot of nice experimentation, and I'm enjoying it, those two.
Now we've come very nicely to the next step, and that is cost, because these tools are not free, and people have different budgets, different circumstances, and I think it's important to understand that you don't have to buy all the tools, and each of us has to look at what our budget is, and we have to work out what we can do with the budget we have. Like for me, I don't know, I'm okay with lots of files everywhere. I'm all right. I was happy with Word, and I always thought, why do people need Scrivener? But everybody's not the same. Not only do we have different budgets, we have different ways of working. So you have to work with who you are, and not feel that you have to have everything and it has to be this big, difficult, expensive process. There are a lot of writers who feel that before I write a novel, I have to do a master's in fiction writing or creative writing. That will cost you like £20,000 here. If you can afford it, you have the time and money, fine. But it's not necessary, and we have to find what works. We have to find what works for us, you know. So that brings me to another question: paid or free mailing list tools? Because you guys mentioned we've talked about mailing lists. We've talked about building up a mailing list of readers who want to hear from us, so that when we launch that first book or that second book, you know, we already have some readers ready to review, ready to give, you know, advice about the cover, ready to read, ready to buy. So tell me, does a mailing list have to be one that you pay for? Paid mailing. When I say paid mailing list, I don't mean buying the readers, you know. That's not what I mean. I mean paying for the service that provides the mailing list facility, because obviously Google's not Google and Yahoo, and they're not going to let you send 700 mails out. That's going to be called spam. So you need a mailing list operator, something like MailerLite or Substack. So what are your thoughts, especially for people who don't have the budget, and some of these, you know, these platforms are charging more and more money now. What do you have to say to that, Dale?
I was using MailerLite, and I still have it, but when I started using it, they say, oh, you have up to 1,000 free, and I'm not to 1,000 yet. I'm kind of like around 800-900, and then at that they said, oh no, we just changed things. If you have more than 500, you have to pay, and I'm not ready to pay yet. So that's when I already had Substack, and that's when I kind of moved all my people over to Substack, and then because it's free, and you know, I can continue to build that way. And what I probably will do, like you've been doing a great job, you know, when getting people who are agreeing to be on your street team, so to speak. When I get those people who agree, then I'll put them onto my mailer list. So, and when I get big enough, obviously I'm going to pay for MailerLite. So it just depends on what you're doing at the time. But if you can avoid paying for it, by all means, work around it. But if you have to, you have to, because that mailing list is everything.
Thank you, Dale. Any thoughts on that, Jasmine?
Actually, it's something that I have not looked into, probably because I'm in Guyana. It's not where the audience is, and it's similar to Substack. It's just that predominantly people prefer your in person and those types of updates, and they see emails as a little bit bothersome, actually. And
Mm,
then the average person, unless they're in corporate, they're not checking their emails. So it's a couple of things that has made me not go into it. But in terms of book two and expanding my author profile, it's definitely something that I'm curious about. But until the market kind of demands it, because at the moment my audience is very local.
Ah, okay. I think I think having them going through the steps of building a mailer list will probably allow you to expand your audience because um,
Agreed.
what happened when I started doing the mailer list thing, because I'm using tools like BookFunnel and MailerLite. Now I'm starting with BookFunnel to send a free book, to offer a free book, something that isn't like a full novel, but to introduce people to my writing. And I know this is something Dale has done too. And then what happens is BookFunnel ends up, you're working with other authors, and because those other authors are not strictly Caribbean, you end up with a lot of readers in the US, UK, Australia. I mean, you end
Yeah.
up with readers from everywhere. You'll find someone downloading a book from India, from Japan, from, um, everywhere. Israel, everywhere. Australia, um,
Yeah.
yeah, Nigeria.
It's definitely something I'm curious about. It's just that I guess coming back to Scarlet, we had a deadline and you're rushing to this, so you kind of had to pick your battles. And I'll be like, all right, I'll come back to this. So
Yeah,
mailing list is on my to-do list, especially as I expand. So I'll be picking your brains more.
you're welcome. Anytime. Any thoughts on that, Scarlett?
So I want to say welcome, Vina, who I met through a book club, and I realized recently she's a writer as well, and she's on, and she had a tip to wait until the end of the holiday or the holiday seasons, et cetera, to take advantage of sales of all these tools that we're talking about. Because they will probably have sales. And for certain influencers too, I think, Vina, you can, through the influencer, you can have, I know that's how I got introduced to some of my tools is people that I follow on YouTube, et cetera, may have discount codes, et cetera. For mailing lists, I never paid. So I use Substack exclusively. But then again, I feel you are a major influencer, Amanda. FYI. Like
Oh my God.
I got this automation from Amanda, and I was like, "Oh, you use MailerLite. Tell me about it." And so I signed up for MailerLite, again, the free version, and I use it very strategically. So I have a website where people can sign up to be a part of my mailing list. Prior to MailerLite, I would just add them to Substack. So if you sign up on my anywhere, you can sign up through Substack, or if you sign up on my mailing list, I'll add you to Substack. But then what I decided to do is when people actually join me on my website, I set up an automation for MailerLite where they will get things 3 days after, 10 days after, 3 weeks after, just getting to know me a little bit more, and to also drive them to buy my book. And then after they're done, I take them off Dale. I unsubscribe them from there and add them to my Substack. So Substack is my definitive list. And I'm really suspicious of things disappearing. So like every couple of months, I'll pull them off, just so that I have a CSV with them. But I don't pay for that. Now, recently I started paying for my website. And so I guess technically, but I get some other features in addition to, and in order to capture emails, there are pop-ups that come up, just one, not too irritating, that capture that. And then what I also started doing is through MailerLite, like in the back of my books. So this is another way to grow, but in the back of my books, I have, oh, this will sound good to you, Amanda. I have QR codes in the back of my book where people can also, I look, folks, I'm learning as I go along. So what I learned is people don't necessarily, like Jasmine said, want to give you their email addresses, but they love free stuff. So in the back, I say, oh, turn the page for something amazing. And then, if they go on there, they'll get access to one of my short stories, but they have to send me their email. And so when that comes through, it goes to MailerLite again through the automation. Again, I pull them off, put them there. So that's how I think about it. I'm not in the business of wasting money from my point of view. So you have to convince me to pay for something, to be honest. You have to convince me, and I'm not convinced that I need to pay for MailerLite at this time.
I agree with you. And I could just say, I don't know if you're going to mention this, but Amanda, you did mention Book Funnel.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I would have. That's where I've gotten most of my subscribers, is because I put out a short story and I get a bunch of people sign up for the short story, and they, add them to my list. And it's just been amazing. This summer, because I joined several promos, last month, I think I got almost about 90 people between the different promos that I joined that joined my mailing list. So I can't speak highly enough about a book funnel, both for gaining followers and for just kind of getting your work out to people.
And
okay, Dale, I'm gonna challenge you on this. Here's my thing. Here's my thing about those types of things. I find that they're not quality subscribers. They're people who want free stuff.
True.
Okay. So what I have found is, number one, what sometimes happens, they'll sign up and then they'll come off once they get their free whatever, right? That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, honestly, the more quality subscribers to me are from Substack. That's where I get most of my really quality people engaging things. I'm not yet, I know Amanda tried to convince me of the book funnel. That's the only thing I didn't follow you up on, girl. I can't, I don't want to pay, because I feel like I tried it. I did like the trial thing, and I was like, these people aren't interested in my books. They're just pulling out all this free stuff, like.
No, I get that. I get that. And it is one of the potential downfalls, but the hope is that some of them are legit, like in anything.
I don't know, Scarlett, if they signed up to get your free book, that means they're interested in your book.
They're not interested in buying my book. They're not interested in buying my book.
Yeah, but they're interested in reading it. That is something.
No.
Yes. Listen. Not everybody is going to buy. Okay?
Totally.
But
my thing is, they're pulling
and enjoy it.
Down 20, 50 books. And the same thing when I see my Trinidad dialect comes out. So listen, when I used to be a part of TikTok things, because I know, Jasmine, you're big on TikTok. I'm interested to hear more about that. But
yes.
People try to tell me, oh, put it on TikTok. I'm like, they only want free stuff. Like, there are these things every year. There's, you put, and it. Look, one of my favorite authors I heard recently, Camille, she wrote an autobiography, How to Be Unmothered. But she says, I am not giving away my hard-earned talents. Like, even if it's 99 cents, I will go for the 99 cents. But the people who download the free books, they have too many books on their TBR to even read my books sometimes. They're downloading all of them.
Book orders, like free book orders.
So I'm going to add something here.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying totally. But I remember when I was writing and publishing my books, I must have listened to 105 million independent podcasts. And Joanna Penn. Everybody knows Joanna Penn. I love her candon. Anyway, my wife calls her my girlfriend. Anyway, over and over and over and over, people said most people's first book is not selling very well, but your first book sells your second book, and your second book sells your third book. So for me, I have used my book I give it away like it's going out of style. Just give me an email number, and sometimes I'll give it to you free because I want people to know my book. I know it's quality, and I want them to, So I mean, that's what I'm banking on. I haven't gotten to the second book yet. We'll have that conversation after I publish the second book. But that's my philosophy.
I don't mind giving my book for free. So like advanced reader copies, where people really read it, I think Amanda is where I'm going. I'm just not convinced that the people who download from these lists are really reading my book. I'm really not convinced. I think that they have a lot of books. And they like free stuff. But look, I do Story Origin. Story Origin, has all my things that are available there. I do NetGalley, as you know. Like I do certain things, but yeah, man, them free.
Okay, look, maybe a year from now we'll have another conversation about it. I want to let you know that BookFunnel also does sales promotions. They don't besides the group. The group promotions to build your newsletter. They also work with other authors to do sales promotions. If your book is on Amazon or Kobo or Apple or whatever. So we can talk about that another day, but I think let's move on from that now. We started talking about whether we should pay for our mailing list or not. And now and then we moved on to whether our readers should pay for our books or not. There's a little irony there.
Yes.
Okay. Now here's another question, is a website essential nowadays? I remember sitting in the Victoria and Albert Museum with a friend of mine who said to me, "You've spent money on a website. It is a waste of money because, you should be able to sell your book with all of today's tools without a website." And I think what she meant was if you have all you need is a landing page, and you can get a landing page through BookFunnel, for instance, and that's cheap. Just using BookFunnel for a whole year is much cheaper than running a website for a whole year. The standard advice in the indie publishing world is that you need a website. What is your take on that? Let's start with Jasmine.
This is where the marketing in me comes in, and I think websites are part of your professional portfolio. And I'll tell you from experience, if you just have Jasmine Payne at blogspot.com, it automatically sends a particular message. This is not an author or a professional that's ready to be professional. So I think at the end of the day, yes, it might be seen as a waste of time because that's not where your sales are coming from. Some authors are able to get sales through there if they have e-commerce, but it's definitely like your business card. It definitely helps with the polish of your professional portfolio as a writer. So even if you're not using it, you get it. Of course, coming back to what you said, Amanda, sometimes the budget doesn't work out where you can probably afford it. But a simple landing page and an official.com, it just helps with the packaging, especially if you're going to go to traditional publishers eventually. It's something that they see as a full package.
Thank you, Jasmine. Anything you want to add to that, Scarlett?
I think it's needed. It's necessary. It's control of your author business. To have a website of your own. In addition to I use the landing pages too from like MailerLite, etc., but I use it through my website. So I think even maybe if you can't afford the hosting, it's about $100 and something a year to get a URL. And I think that especially is important to get your URL, right? So
by URL, what do you mean? You mean your own domain?
Your own domain, yes.
Domain name, yeah.
I think that even if you cannot afford to build out a website yet, get your own domain, because most of the times when you get your own domain, you have the front page that's included, right? But especially because we're going to hope and pray. No, not hope and pray. We're going to be deliberate about being a successful writer. And when you put your book out, people might take your domain and then try to sell it back to you. So I think one of the things to do is get your domain, even if you don't build out the whole site just yet, you have something that you control from your business point of view.
I agree with everything. The only thing I would add is, and I'm sure you ladies do this, is one of the things I have on my website is my media page, where all the media things that I've done are right there. And I know people have gone there before, and I know they've checked it out and they've used some of that information. So I think, again, I think the professional thing, you want to be seen as a professional. So, being a professional costs a bit.
And I think,
Especially as an independent. Oh, sorry, Scarlett.
yeah, no,
I
go
was just
ahead.
saying, especially as an independent author, there's already a lot of stigma against us when you put us next to
Mhm.
traditionally published persons. So as much as we can have going into the game, because we're going to be mixed with the traditional publishers, with the traditional authors, sorry. Yeah, we need it.
And what a website does for you as well, going off of what Dale said, is it gives you statistics about who is interested in you. So you get information. Like one of the things that I go to every day is the analytics page on my website. I want to know where traffic is coming from. So is it coming from Instagram? Is it coming from Facebook? Is it coming from Substack? Because I get that information. I also get where in the world people are coming from. Right now, number one is Trinidad and Tobago, but it has other places, yes,
Wow.
the US,
Well done.
etc. And so I think that it gives you as well information about your readers and who's interested in you and what pages they're going to if you have multiple pages,
Yeah.
to be able to redo your site as needed and stuff like that. It's important.
So, Scarlett, I think I want to skip ahead to something here. One of the things that, in fact, when you got your special offer last year to build your own website with this new company, Tulia, um, you invited me along, and I already had one, and I didn't want to just throw it all away, right? But your website, I find it's brilliant. I find it's functional, and I mean, I hate to say this because I think they use an artificial intelligence based system to build it. Am I right? They're not an AI based company. Why? So I think they
And
did that all
actually,
along.
if you no, look, they
Okay. Okay,
for
okay. So I've been
Tulia,
thinking bad things about Tertulia for the whole year. That was one of the
mm-mm.
reasons I hesitated. Um,
They-
Everything has AI in it.
well,
I
it has
know,
AI,
I
it
know,
probably
I know,
does.
I know what you
But
mean. But
when they approached me, and again, it's real people approaching me, right? The woman
yeah, I
who
know
approached me she was living in Harlem at the time, and she
your
sends
neighbor.
me a note, right? A neighbor, and she says, "Look, I want to." And when I got on there, they had me build it right on the, like click through. And so the very first iteration of that site, I did it myself. And they did that. So before that, I had Wix, right? Which I found was too expensive for me and whatnot, and too complex. It was just very complex. The thing that, and on the phone, it was a Zoom call, not unlike this. They had their developer there. They had because I kept asking for things, and so they really brought me on as like a thought leader for them for the first probably year and a half. I had it for free. And recently they just redid my website. So for authors, you can pay, I think it was like $99, and they will glow it up for you. And I know for a fact that it was a real person like
Oh,
doing
okay.
all the colors and
I get that. But what I'm thinking with Tertulia, they are a company that specializes in offering websites to authors. So some of those things that you talked about, um, it's not
they
automatically
built it.
accessible to other authors. So,
Everything.
like the analytics and all of that stuff.
It is. It
I mean,
is.
I think I have to go back to my domain provider to get that
No.
stuff. I mean, I can access it. Sure, I can access it. Not that I don't. I need help to access it. But I'm saying that it sounds to me that the way they've designed yours is that you can just access all that from your dashboard.
For everybody who's on Tutulia, yes.
Right, exactly. But that is something specific to Tertulia. Not every
Yes.
setup is like that. Um,
Well, I don't know. I know for Wix I could also access that. So
okay.
I think
Okay.
depending on, so for at least the ones that I've used, and even like a tool like Story Origin, because prior to Wix I had Story Origin, right? So I had the landing pages, and even on that you can go in and look at the analytics. I think most most domain providers, etc. But Tutulia, I took my domain from Wix. They in control of it right now. But yes, I don't know about smaller people who develop websites. I don't
Okay,
know if
fair
they,
enough. So that's the route I've taken, and
yes.
but I have to say I'm quite impressed with your website. Everyone, you can check out scarletibisjames.com. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, does your website sort of do you have a sort of automation whereby you don't have to manually put new reviews on? Like, is it partly automated? That's my question.
So when you put your book in, it pulls in whatever is on Ingram Spark or Amazon
In terms of
automatic.
reviews, okay.
In terms of
Interesting.
reviews, I go in and I have to if it needs to change after the first one, you have to go in and do it. And what I've done is I've curated my reviews. So I don't want all the text from the
Okay.
reviews. So I will go in and I edit it. So it's not you have to do work. So I just want to say that
Okay.
it's
All
not
right. Okay. It's
it
not
is not
totally automated sort of thing. Okay. All right.
it will pull your things in, it will pull the descriptions, it will do all that, but I edit that too because I like Jasmine want to control the experience of the people coming to the page. So I want to know what they're seeing, etc. I don't put all my reviews because I have quite a number of them now. So I have like the first like 8 that I choose to put up
All
there.
right. So
And just
at this point, I think I want to move away from Tertulia because I don't want us to spend the next half an hour chatting about Tertulia. But I
be
mean,
the next one.
a company that offers that is specially tailored and geared towards authors, I think it might actually be a good move for those of you who don't yet have your own website or want to start afresh. So I've put it in the chat and you can look it up when you're ready. If there are things that we're saying, if we're using too much, let's say, author jargon and you're not sure, there's going to be time for question and answers. Also, you can put things in the chat if we're losing you at all. Okay, so this is a tricky one which you may or may not actually have a flat answer for, and I'll start with Dale. What would you say is a minimum budget a person needs to publish a book, as in publishing maybe a typical novel?
Okay. First, I want to take an opportunity and thank Cleveland and Marva for being here. I appreciate you guys. Cleveland started Jamaica Book Club some time back. I can't remember, before the pandemic, I think. And through that, I met so many Jamaican novel authors, and we're all good friends now. So thank you guys for both being here, both Marva and Cleveland. So budget. All right, I'm going to tell you. So those of you from Jamaica know the name Mahfood as a business person, Lebanese. I am not a business person. Unfortunately, I wish I was. Maybe that's why I'm an author. So when I start talking money, I get dyslexic for money. I know I have enough to do what I have to do. So let's just leave it at that. Always check with my wife. Is this going to work? Yes. All right, let's do it. So if you're like me, you need a good wife. So that's my answer. But what I'll say is you do need money. You do need to have money to do what you need to do. And then, as has been said earlier, you need to, what am I thinking? Okay. Yeah, you need to decide what is most important to you, what you're willing to pay for, and what you can somehow slide by without or kind of get a cheap version of. You need to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah. Any other answers? I'm almost feeling like it's a question I shouldn't have even asked.
I
Because it
guess
could be
putting
a bit
numbers,
prohibitive.
yeah, putting numbers on it is hard because you said it in the beginning, Amanda, based on your budget, it's not across the board for everyone, but I would recommend specific services. Definitely your editing. You need a developmental editor, you need a copy editor. Those two costs can be a little bit. I think the industry cost, don't quote me on this, but it might be 0.015 cents or dollars on per word. So depending on your word length, you multiply it by that. But those understand what the industry costs are for those editing costs. So definitely copy editing, developmental editing, definitely cover design. At the very least, and they can run you maybe about 1,000 to 1,500 US, unfortunately, especially if you're doing long form.
Or
So
more.
it's something you need to say, or more. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, at least, because it's something you have to invest in. And again, if you're jumping into the pool of publishing as an independent publisher, you're going to be mixed with traditional authors, traditionally published authors. So you have to invest something that puts you at that level at the very least.
Yeah, I'm seeing everyone nodding to that.
I put a guide that Reedsy has around editing. I agree with Jasmine. Editing is the biggest single cost for me. Um, and what I have also curated over time is a street team that also involves people that I've worked with. So I have a person from who was an ARC reader, and she would always give me very thoughtful advice. And then I asked her on my last book if she would edit it for me, and she did. So that ended up being a lot less dollars. And then recently, through my social media, again, it's about the relationships that you cultivate. But through my social media conversations, I got in touch with another editor in Trinidad, and I'm going to be using her for one of my short stories. I'm going to look up her name and put it in the chat. But I think that very much one of the things that we need to do as a community is also leverage the people that are in our networks. So you can absolutely, like me, I went to Reedsy for my first couple of books, but then I started using my own network of people to help me through that. And I think you can save money in that way. And then I pay them sometimes with books for ARC readers, etc. But which is another investment, right? So it's something to think about. But yeah, the editing and the cover, I think, is the biggest cost for me from a publishing point of view.
I think that's good. To try and kind of save as you can. There are a couple other ways to save. I think your first book, you need a developmental editor just to get a feel for it. And then you decide after that if you need that. But the second thing is, and I read this in a book, I forget the name of the book. And for my second novel, what I did was I wrote the first line out the outline. I'm an outliner. Some people aren't, but I'm an outliner, a detailed outliner. So it's almost like a draft. And I sent the outline to my editor, and she gave me feedback. And my wife also gave me feedback because she's one of my editors. So I knew structurally and developmentally it was sound. Not to say it can't use some differences once it's written. So that's a little hack. So it was cheaper to have her do that than to have her later do a whole developmental read.
I'd like to just nicely challenge you, Dale, that a developmental editor is needed for every project. And I see Harold Bascom said that because it's something we agree on, because every project has the same process of building and it's a different story. You need that outside eye to tell you about that big picture, about your big picture problems, regardless of where. I mean, it could be expensive, but there are some things that I would not negotiate on, and that developmental editor definitely. Because when you're in your story, you're blind to the gaps, and sometimes your beta readers might not have the technical capacity. So you need that person with that technical capacity every single time. I would insist on it.
It sounds like writers have 3 jobs. 1, the job that pays the bills. 2, the job that is the writing. And 3, the job that pays for the writing.
Yeah, the job that pays for the writing, right?
Exactly, that is true.
So Jasmine, we'll agree to disagree on that. I think it all depends. It all depends on the writer and the situation.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to somewhere over the next few months. I'm afraid to say I'm going to because now I'm promising. Okay, let me say I hope to. I hope to write an article that I'll share on Substack over the next few months where I will share all the books that have helped me in my writing journey. I started my journey for my novel is a 13-year journey. I first did my outlines 13 years ago.
Right.
And I could neither afford the time or the money for a creative writing MBA or MFA or whatever it's called. That's not even a possibility for me. So I had to learn my way through the process. I had to read and maybe go to a lecture here and maybe go to a class there and maybe listen to a video there. And, you pay for small things, but not necessarily paying for a big master's program. And so people have different routes. And what I'd like to share is the books that helped me, because I would call it a kind of low-cost, self-taught teaching
MFA,
yourself approach.
BA.
Yeah. So that's something I definitely want to share, because there are many people who have to take, you're working with, you want to write, but you have to work within your means, because who could really have 2 jobs plus get the writing done? Not many of us. It's hard.
And there are those who even warn against the MFA, but that's another story.
That's another conversation. Indeed. So now I want to move on to the Caribbean a little bit, and that's where you come in, Jasmine, because all of us hail from the Caribbean. But we're getting some feedback now. Scarlet, myself, and Dale, we're no longer living in the Caribbean. We may go back to visit. We're not living there. So you tell us, Jasmine, what is the difference for our listeners who are Caribbean based? What is the difference in what's out there in terms of tools and approach and expectations and getting published?
Okay, I think, well, first of all, I'm happy to see that in the Caribbean space, their acceptance of what is Caribbean literature, they're trying to redefine that, right? But one of the more bigger changes that I would see is where the audience lives for me as opposed to for you collectively. So as mentioned, Substack is not big for audience, mailing list is not big, but social media, huge. And that's why, Scarlett, you can say I'm on TikTok. I didn't even see myself as huge on TikTok, but yes, I am on TikTok because there are different demographics of your audience on the different platforms. For Facebook, it's the older audience, so you will be your late 40s and upwards, or late 30s and upwards.
Sorry.
And then that's okay. Then for Instagram, which is your millennials basis, right? That's where all of the bookstagrammers, they even have a subsection of people called bookstagrammers there. There are a lot of Caribbean people there. In fact, a new trend called Read Caribbean was actually launched on Instagram. So that's huge in that space. And then TikTok, of course, you have your Gen Z and your younger millennials. So I would think that's the main aspect of understanding that, okay, maybe I might not need a website, although I said, yes, I need a website for the professional, but predominantly my presence has to be focused on social media, and that actually takes away from my efforts of doing like the mailing list and Substack, because that in itself takes time, right? But because this is where I am in the Caribbean, predominantly social media is my living space.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
I think for as a Trinidadian writer, I think I would echo what Jasmine said. I think for the genre that I write, Facebook definitely is where I get most of my sales. So that when I track where I'm getting the sales to Amazon are, it's from Facebook. Instagram is really great for building awareness of my brand, of my books. But I have not, I have been disillusioned with TikTok, I think a lot. Although I continue to post content. So what I would do is I would do content for both Instagram and TikTok at the same time. But earlier today, I was researching how do I set up a TikTok shop, because I know that it's also a way that there's a great way to sell your books. But I think I need 1,000 followers in order to do that. So yeah, we'll see. I think I have about 600 now, so I have to try to build that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting with the different, because I have all of those too, and what will go take off on Instagram won't take off on TikTok, and then what takes
Yeah,
off on TikTok, Instagram is like 10 people. It's
yeah.
just incredible how
It's a
to.
different strategy. So your focus becomes a social media strategy, which in itself has its different skills. The way you create curate your content, even down to your statuses. Like I wouldn't put any status on TikTok because people don't read statuses on TikTok. Hashtags are not as big on Facebook as they are on Instagram. So that's a whole different class. But yeah.
That
Right.
reminds me, I did ask you guys to look at my social media and give
Oh,
me
I-
some feedback because my social media is rubbish, right?
No,
I have been, when I say it's rubbish, okay, I shouldn't say that. That's not, I'm
no,
not fair
no.
to myself to say that. But I am very late to the Instagram party. I first had an Instagram account in 2012. I decided I didn't like it. I've set up various Instagram accounts for different purposes, maybe for doing a little fundraising or whatever. And I could never get into the platform. And they generally say that we should, when you're doing social media marketing, you should choose platforms that you enjoy being on, and that's where you're going to thrive. And you shouldn't force it. If you don't like TikTok, don't force it. If you don't like, the reason I'm not on Threads is because Threads requires a lot of writing, and I don't want to put my thinking, writing energy into Threads. you know, I'm now finally starting to get the hang of Instagram because I feel motivated enough to try. But what's your feedback? So you guys have looked at social media. Um, Tell me what I can do better.
Hmm.
Should, should we start with Scarlett?
I think that for me, I am still learning, Amanda. I don't feel like I am equipped to tell you
Okay,
what
that's
to do.
fine. But you
Here's
are my
I,
inspiration. I find your social media very effective. I love it. And that was even before
thank
we
you
She
were
for
does have
saying.
a
friends.
nice
That sounds,
social media presence. Yeah.
yeah.
I tend, but I am good with putting myself out there, right? So I do a
Yes.
lot of face things. I also love Canva and I love learning new things. I think that's the artist in me that's coming out a lot of times because I like fun things and I also like the interactivity. But to be honest, I feel the need to be more strategic. I'm going to learn from Jasmine and I'll be more strategic in how I post. So I recently tuned into some folks giving guidance, especially on social media, and they talk about posting on a routine basis things that have to do with your book, things that have to do with engagement, and things that has to do with you as a person. So, just between the three of those things, doing it consistently. So, I'm trying to think, and I change a lot. I change a lot on the things, but I don't feel I'm not. I can't. I feel that I actually look to Jasmine. I look to you. I look to see what's interesting that you're doing, and then I copy. That's what I copy what people do.
That's
Jasmine?
interesting because I'm
That's
looking
the
to you to see
skill.
what you're doing.
That's the skill. No, that's the skill. And I was about to say, if you're gonna if you're gonna be on social media, you have to play the game. And the thing about social media is trends. So you do have to copy, and in the writer space, there are specific trends that are popular. But Amanda, specifically to your request on your platform, I think you were asking about Instagram. So I mentioned it before. Like Instagram is where the millennials are. It's a very aesthetic platform. They like the pretty pictures. They like minimal text on their content. They like just a lot of video content. Everyone likes the reels, utilize stories, and follow the owner of Instagram, who himself gives you tips on what will help work for. So I think his name is Mossery. I'll share it. I'll share it with you at some point. I can't switch between on my phone right now, but I think his name is Mossery. He's the owner of Instagram, and he is one of the most helpful persons for how to succeed on Instagram. That and the creators. There's a creators profile where they push all of the biggest trends.
Thank you for
And
that,
then
Jasmine and
you have
Scarlett.
edits. So even edits. So the edits app is actually recently where I've been getting a lot of
Yes,
ideas. And
yes,
from everything
templates.
that people have been saying is like go to there, get the the thing that I posted something today. I got the template from there.
The Edits
Because
app,
then
there's an app called Edits.
there is.
Yes, it's like a sub app. So
Of
Instagram
Instagram.
created edits. Yeah. So Instagram created edits so that you can create your templates and publish it directly to Instagram.
You
It's
are
really
so
helpful
funny,
in this.
Amanda.
Lots of templates. So all you have to do is just draw. So sometimes if you see a template there, they'll tell you how many videos or photos that you need. So sometimes they'll tell you six. So you'll go into your camera roll, you'll put those in, and it'll edit it for you and push it out there. It's very, very, very simple.
So now I
So I
feel like
went,
we're moving into the subject of AI, but before we
not
step,
AI. I find
we,
you very
No, it's
interesting
not
what you say
AI.
is
It's not
AI.
AI.
It's not
It's not
AI.
AI, Amanda.
my, my
I
son is shaking his head at me too, and he's laughing at me.
so
It's not.
the thing.
It's just video editing. It's just video editing, and they've
Okay.
created an app, and there are many apps like that. So it's just video editing that they make templates on. They are now having a separate section with like CapCut and edits. They now have an AI section if you want to blatantly go
Okay.
in there.
Okay.
But there's the straightforward, just straight video editing version.
Well, guys, the good news is that I actually used Canva to make this decent Instagram reel recently, and for me, that is massive
Nice.
progress. I'm so proud of myself.
Nice.
Any advice, Dale?
I started using it around 2019 when my daughters are like, Dad, you got to start getting on Instagram for your books. So I have Instagram, of course, Facebook for a while, and TikTok, and I've tried some of the other ones, and of course Substack. It's hit and miss, and it's a matter of time because to create a video, it takes time. Maybe not super long, but it takes a half an hour and that's half an hour out of your day, to create a good video and then, or whatever it is, and then post it to all the different places, which I post them on all of them. But I do find that when I go live, so to speak, or a video of me, that's when it does it best. I don't know if you've seen any of my mango videos.
Yes.
I've had a
Yes,
mango
actually.
video from like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
or is it 3 years ago? It went to well over 100,000, and it was incredible. I'm like, why couldn't this be my book? It's about mangoes. So, um, I don't know. Just I know I need to get back to the live videos with me talking and that sort of thing. So ultimately, that's where I get the most, for bang for the buck. But I don't sell my book yet on there, so I haven't got to that point. I'm not as good as Scarlet. Scarlet is awesome.
I don't sell my book on Instagram or anything.
But
But
on
I
social
direct
media,
people.
right?
I direct people to my website or Substack.
Oh, okay. Because it sounded like on Facebook, you do a little paid advertising or not?
I do. I do. I do.
Okay.
Which is I wouldn't call that selling on there. It's
Right.
different. Yes, yes. But
True.
yes, I did, but I'm not anymore. I think it's a waste of money. I test a lot. I test a lot. So I will do
Yeah.
everything for like a couple months and then I stop.
Right.
And to me, I wasn't seeing the benefit.
So for what you're doing basically is you're willing to try and test anything that may reasonably have a good outcome, and then you find out if it has a good outcome for you, and
Right.
then you
Because
decided to
people,
go ahead or not.
correct. There's a lot of advice out there, and what I have heard recently from a lot of people who don't necessarily look like us, is that ads are necessary. Amazon ads are necessary. Facebook ads are necessary at the same time. So, like as an example, if they did a book funnel, you have a thing at the same time, and it sort of moves your books. Look, I sell. It does sell. So I did a concerted test with Scarlet Birthright earlier this year, and yes, I had sales, but the sales didn't match what I spent. And to me,
Uh,
that business sense deal, it's like I'm not,
right.
I'm not going to spend this much. And if I did less, then they penalize you. It's almost like they don't want to show your content to anybody, type
Hmm.
of thing. So then they say it stops working. So for me, I'm actually going to my next phase is actually in person, very much like what Jasmine is doing. So I have some book events coming up, and I'm finding that that might be the way to sell more books as well too. You know.
Yeah.
You, you,
I want to do more of that too.
One of the things I want to say to everyone out there on that indie writing journey is that there's absolutely no way you can find out everything you need to know from just listening to a few podcasts, right? So you're going to have a big strategy. Yes, you may introduce yourself to the subject by listening to podcasts, looking at videos, maybe reading a few books. But you also want to make writer friends, right? And that's what we've
Mhm.
done among ourselves. And it just happens naturally. You go into writer spaces, and there's some people you click with, and you can start chatting, and then you can start exchanging information, and and that's a synergy. So you're going to, and things are always changing in the marketplace. Things are always changing in the industry. So therefore, you can't just think, well, okay, I learned about this 5 years ago, and I'm ready to do it now. You still have to, um, you have to keep up, but don't make it like work. Your main work is your writing, and then as you need to, you find out what you need to as you go along. I think that's the way to put it. When I first started to think about doing independent publishing seriously, it was 2020, and a friend of mine was doing it, and she was using Facebook ads, and it was working really well for her. But in that time, Facebook has changed a lot. How the audience feels about the platform has changed. The platform itself has changed how it behaves, and your Facebook advertising money doesn't go as far, and the way you can construct the ads has changed it. And there's so many things are always changing. So, but being in an author community, indirectly, directly, formally, informally, it means that you have people to ask, you have people to talk to, you have people to check in with. I recently joined Independence, the Alliance of Independent Authors, which I know it started in the UK. Whether it's international or UK based, I'm not sure. But what it means is that I have people I can ask questions to, people who are doing the same thing as me, and it's a kind of hive mind thing. So I can't recommend that enough. Whether you're based in the Caribbean, wherever you're based, find your writers, find your
Mhm.
people. Now back to the Caribbean, I was really impressed and excited to learn from Scarlett that she got her book in Trinidad and Tobago library, and that means that people who would be deterred from buying the paperback because of the shipping costs can borrow it from the library. That's fantastic. And then I know Scarlett she's got an audiobook out as well. Dale said he's done an audiobook for his mother's poetic memoir. So can you share a little bit with us? Jasmine, can I check with you? Have you got an audiobook yet for Leech or not
It's
yet?
in process, so I'm
It's in
hoping it's
process.
out, yes,
Fantastic.
before the end of the year.
So I want to ask all of you about getting your books in libraries, if you've actually done it, and also the whole audiobook hurdle, which um, it's a good thing to do in terms of a service to our readers, because there are many readers who, for one reason or another, struggle to read. Sometimes it's dyslexia, sometimes it's being busy, um, sometimes it could be health problems. So the audiobook isn't
I
just a
like
nice to
it. They
have.
might like it better. Yeah.
Or they may, yeah, and I have been surprised at how enjoyable a novel can be when you listen to it with great voice actors. And your book, Scarlet, Scarlet Birthright's very well done, very, very well done as audiobook. So let me stop talking and let the answers come in. Yeah.
I preferred when I started this writing journey, I preferred listening to books. I listened to audiobooks a lot. And so what was important for me when I published my first books is that they be available as audiobooks. Um, in both cases, I took the scrappy approach. I took a very most of the people that I reached out to were not big names. I didn't have a big budget. Like I hear some people, and also my book is short.
Mhm.
So my book, I have the I am able to probably afford an audiobook because they're shorter books, right? So I think Scarlet Yearnings is under 200 pages. Scarlet Birthright is under 300 pages. And so the length of time for the audiobook also drives the cost.
Mhm.
Um, I would say that for my first book, I went through Audible, the Audible Exchange. I knew what my budget was, so it was very low. So I got somebody who was new to to audiobook narration. We partnered with each other. It took an inordinate amount of time because she was learning along with me. But I like how I liked how it came about. For Scarlet Birthright, I wanted Caribbean accents. I wanted Caribbean um, voices. And so I went through voices.com, I think, and interviewed people. I lucked out that I got two very amazing narrators who did an exceptional job. They were much faster. They were experienced, so they did it much faster. But again, my budget might have been like $1,200. It wasn't a lot. And then I used free tools to then turn them into the programs and put them into the different things. So I think that I'm still using a very scrappy. I think that they're not masterful audio books. I think that if I had a choice, um, I would have had more direction, more different things like that. But I didn't because of how I was putting it together. But that's how I did it. I chose not to do it for my latest collection of short stories. Um, Only because I want a variety of different voices. It's a very multicultural collection of stories. And I shudder to think, even though it's a short book, this one is under 400 pages, but um, I think it's going to be expensive. I have not gotten a profit on my audiobooks. Unlike what you may hear, that, oh, it's the thing, and the no,
Mm-mm.
my print books are by far my sellers. I do have audiobook people who buy the audiobooks, but it's not like a romantic book, like a Kennedy Ryan book or something like that. That would be, a lot of people wanting to hear it um, on audiobooks. So that's been my experience. I've gotten them. I don't know when I will intend to get it for the last one. But in my genre, it's not, unless it's well produced, which is expensive, um, it's priced me out. I'm not getting it at this point.
Yeah.
Dale?
I think the way after my mother wrote her poetic memoir, I I wanted to get it done in audio. A friend of ours that we've known for years, Jamaican, but she lives up in Tallahassee, she said she would do it. And I bought the, microphone, whatever, sent it up to her. She ended up using her own equipment and she did a fabulous job. And then she sent me the files and somebody I knew from church, audio engineer, he, for a very inexpensive price, he did it. So fortunately, that was an inexpensive project, and I published it through Findaway Voices, which is, of course, now has something to do with Spotify. But I would love to have done my novel. My novel is like about 350 or odd pages, and really needs at least three or four voices, and it would have just been too expensive. I did have one time, so I don't know if you know Jeffrey Anderson Gunter, a Jamaican actor. He set up a Zoom and had several Jamaican actors kind of reading parts and stuff, but it's just too expensive. And I think my book as well, it's it wouldn't pay off. Maybe the second novel I'm writing, because it's not, the main thing is not, well, it has a love triangle. So that might draw in the type of audience that might want to read that, although it's much more than that. So yeah, I would love to do it, but it's just not feasible.
Interesting.
I know
If
Karen Francisco is on, and I was so delighted to hear her voice on Celeste Mohammed's
Oh
audiobook. It
yeah,
was,
I've
um,
heard
But
that.
but Celeste, sorry, I hear me calling you Celeste now. Celeste is in my mind. Celeste is wonderful. But Scarlett, I was coming for you because I'm like, it's so ironic because I've been running behind you every time you record a video to say your voice is perfect for audiobooks. Have you guys heard her on a recording? It's beautiful. It's like you're lying. One night, it was like one night I was like just lying down and just she was like, doing it across some music. I'm like, oh wow, she could put me to sleep. So Scarlett, again, I'm
exactly,
going
I'll
to
put people to
it,
sleep.
no, 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 in a good way. Like it was bedtime for me. No, but I mean it's your voice is very melodic and I would like you to challenge yourself. I'm doing this on recording. I've done it on TikTok, I've done it on Instagram, I'm doing it here. Challenge yourself. You have the tool right there. So do with that as you may. But for me, it's been pretty much uncharted territory for Guyana because we haven't had any audiobooks come out. So I had to go to a regular recording studio with a regular mixer. And we're right now finding our way in the dark, and I'm hoping that it works because I do have two voices in my book. Six of those chapters are for my main character, who's a British man from England, well, obviously, but and I can't voice that. So I did hire a professional voice actor for that, and he was pretty expensive just for six chapters, which are about 3 hours. So I decided to do it myself. And like Scarlett said, it's probably not going to be the perfect book, but it's going to be very Guyanese. And it's going to be my book. So it's part of that beautiful process of the independent publishing, I think.
Scarlett, there's the audio app. Thank you for that, Jasmine. Scarlett, there's the audio app, ODIYO, which is Caribbean owned, Caribbean based. So they do, is it only podcasts? They do podcasts and what do they do?
They do audiobooks. So
They do audiobooks. Okay.
yeah.
Are they
Yes.
cheaper than or are they the same cost as going through Audible or one of those?
So because I'm an independent publisher,
Yeah.
I created my audiobooks myself. And so even when I did it through
Yeah.
ACX, I still owned all of the rights to it. So the actual content of my audiobooks I owned. And so that's what I took to audio. And audio
Yeah.
just is putting it on their platform. It's almost like you writing the book and putting it on ACX, I mean on KDP or putting it on Ingram Spark. You own
Okay.
the content, and their platform delivers it. It was important to me to be on audio. I think audio is amazing because it's for Caribbean people, about Caribbean people and Caribbean literature. I think, especially Scarlet Birthright, is definitely a Caribbean story. And so it was important for me to get my book onto that platform. They have told me that they could do the the recording for my next book, but I haven't had the bandwidth yet to connect with them to see how much the cost might be different. But they do have narrators as well too, that they work through.
Everyone, I'll try to put as many of these notes in the show notes as I can. I'll try to maybe put a note of some of these tools and platforms that may be unfamiliar to some. We have a question from Celia. First question, Celia, thank you. The question is, do the writers have their physical books in the bookshops across other Caribbean islands? How do they go about that?
I wish.
Oh
Really?
gosh.
So so Celia, I know that I am in Trinidad because I approached bookshops in Trinidad, and so I'm in five bookshops in Trinidad and Tobago. Um, I'm about to send a request to St. Croix, because one of my readers actually approached a bookshop there and asked. I think that as long as our books, Jasmine, is your book on Ingram Spark as well?
No, I need to check that out. I put
You
all
do
my effort
need
in
to,
KDP.
girl,
I
girl,
do.
girl. I think Dale is
Girl.
yours. Dale is yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So for Dale and myself who have books on Ingram Spark, bookshops are able to order our books and bring them
Oh,
to you.
nice.
So I would say, Celia, if you are in a Caribbean island, and you have a favorite bookshop, contact them and ask them to get the book, and they can order the book for you. But yeah, I think that having personal relationships with the booksellers as authors, that's how we get our books in there. And opting to do a author event, because for even the bookshops that I am in Trinidad, they wanted me to come and do something because that then brings people in as well, and gets them to sell the books. And at least I've made a commitment to the bookshops that I'm in to continue to market for them, not just my book, but other books that they may have as well too, because I think independent bookshops are amazing. Um, Dale, I continue to have requests to get my book into Jamaica. I'm gonna try perhaps next year around the Calabash Festival, as
Yeah.
I'm planning out my next year to see what I can do there. But
Check with
Yeah.
Kingston Bookshop, think it is.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to. But yes, yes, Celia, the answer is yes. Ask for them. Ask for them.
My book is in one shop in Trinidad, which is Scribbles and Quills, and then I'm currently working with a book advocate slash influencer from Instagram to get it into Jamaica, and I plan to do, and a lot of my inroads in the Caribbean has been connecting with influencers and book advocates, as they call themselves, and finding out, what's the landscape there. It's a slow process, but as you get through and you make your connections, you just see who's willing to have it. Yeah.
Any thoughts, Dale?
No, I haven't made a great effort to do it because I just haven't had the time. With my new novel, once I have the first draft out or whatever, and the editors are working on it, I'm going to start ramping things up and looking into a lot of different opportunities. But yeah, I would like to. I mean, I know my book is in the Jamaica National Library and UE and Mona campus because I sent it there. But so it could be there. People wanted it, but beyond that, no.
And you
Welcome,
had asked
Mohammed.
about libraries. I contacted the Trinidad and Tobago Library when I was down there. And as a first-time author, Amanda, you need to send your book in because there's an amazing ceremony and whatnot. Trinidad really celebrates the authors from Trinidad or from the diaspora. And it's a lovely ceremony. I couldn't be there with myself, but I had somebody that I went to school with go and accept it on my behalf, and it was lovely. But then it's also available, especially if you have an ebook. That's the other thing too. Ebooks are becoming really big in Trinidad and Tobago libraries. And if your book again is through Ingram Spark, you can it can be available in Trinidad, but I think people have to ask for it too. So it's really getting people on social media, et cetera, to ask for your book. So you'll see a lot of times that I put ask for it, because you
Mm.
can get it there. Jasmine, yes, honey, let's get together. Let's
Well,
get you
I'll
wide.
talk to you as soon
Thank
as
you.
we're off. Yes,
Because
I'll
people
be
don't
in
want
the
to buy from
constant.
Amazon. People don't want to buy
True.
from Amazon.
Yeah.
Um, so especially as a bookseller, right? These small booksellers do not want to buy from Amazon.
So, right. Um, the introduction of ebooks is in a way what changed the self-publishing industry. Before, if you were self-publishing, you were a vanity publisher, and someone was probably ripping you off to publish something that maybe wasn't that great. At least that was, that's how it was looked upon, and then gradually, um, you know, indie publishing has become a respectable industry on its own, in its own right. So where I'm going with this is the electronic book, the digital book, has really become big, and nonetheless, people still love their paper books. So you have your paper book readers, your ebook
Yeah.
readers. I am curious for each of you, where are most of your sales coming from? Ebooks or paper books? Let me start with Dale.
Ebooks,
Okay.
just
And what's the
because
proportion, like 70-30, 80-20?
you that's hard for me to figure
Okay,
out,
okay.
and because mostly my book sales are from Amazon. So, and Amazon doesn't always have, or I don't follow it as much as I should. So, yeah,
Okay. But ebooks are your bigger proportion of your
I think
sales.
so.
Interesting. What about you, Scarlett?
I'm looking it up. Um, I'm
Checking our
looking it
numbers.
up. Yeah, I'm checking the numbers. I think for me, it's paperbacks. No, I made a decision not to go. I made a decision to take my books out of Kindle Unlimited, so that they're available widely. Um, not just through libraries, but also through like Apple and Google and bookshop.org and different things like that. I would say that most of my sales, though, come through Amazon, despite what people say. I shared that with you before. So most of my sales are through Amazon, but because it's not in Kindle Unlimited, I think most of my books are print. I may think about going back into Kindle Unlimited because in the beginning when I first did Scarlet Birthright, I did have my books in Kindle Unlimited, and I like seeing those reading counts every day, even though it wasn't like a lot. But for the genre, I think that I that I create, most of it is paperback.
Interesting. Very interesting. And actually, I'm very surprised. I'm
And
really surprised about that.
there's a very different question you should ask. It's how many books versus how much money you make, because
Mm.
paperback also has a bigger margin depending on your count, word count, and price. So I used to look at counts a lot, but I've recently started shifting to I did get another tool called Publisher Champ. This is after I came through the SPS Live. Publisher Champ is one of the things that I got because I was stunned because they actually pull in information from all the different sources. So you can put in things from my website sales, you can pull in Ingram Spark, they pull it all and they have this beautiful dashboard. And I was really surprised at the dollar thresholds. Are you really making as much as you can? Yes, Jan.
For me, why I haven't really paid much attention is because I haven't really pushed it, and using it more as my book right now more as a calling card than
Mm.
anything. It's opened up doors for me because of it. I was able to, along with Consul General Oliver Mayer of Jamaica, we were able to start the Jamaica Book Club, a book festival up here in South Florida. So it's opened doors for me, and that's kind of what I'm looking at this first book doing, hoping that in the future sales will pick up after I've done the second book. So I really
Interesting.
haven't looked much into the.
Okay. Okay. Um, right. So we have a question from Harold. Can
It's
someone
about
read?
developmental editing.
Yes, 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 yes.
He says, "Can I ask Dale to clarify his position on the implied opinion that developmental editing is optional?"
Yes.
Uh, yes, Harold. First of all, I've always heard from as I've listened to many self-publishing, independent publishing podcasts over the years, that it is optional. Basically, what I said earlier is what I've always heard, that on your first one, you probably need to get it done, and then you can decide after that. Um, but and so that's where what I'm going with. And I do have, like, for instance, like I said, this time around, what I did is the developmental edit from the outline, and then after that, I've got my wife reading it, and she really is a great editor. I was not really surprised, but she's become a good editor for several people's novels since then. And then of course I will give it to my editor, and if yeah, as she reads it, she's going to point out if she sees some things going on. But so I don't necessarily see the need. I think it depends on the person. Scarlett.
I okay, so I'm with Jasmine. So here's the thing that to consider, Dale. A developmental edit is not just about your story, but it could also be about marketability and what the um the audience. I'll give you an example. When I did my first book of collection of short stories, I had an amazing editor. I hired her to do the what come like the I forgot it's not the proofreading, the one that comes right before the proofreading. That's what I hired her for. But
Right,
she read my novel and said, I'll do a developmental one first.
right.
And one of the things that she pointed out to me was, you know, the order of my stories, number one, but also she felt as though I needed a foreword that performed a particular purpose. She gave me an example of one where, because if they just went right into the story. So it's not about your text, or it's
No, I
not.
understand that.
Yeah. So
I
I think that
understand
that's
that.
what I think about when that each book on its
Big
own
picture.
has
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. So I
And
think,
I get that. I get that.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
when I sent my novel initially to my editor, who's a very good editor, she took a brief look at my first few chapters, and she said, I could tell already you don't need a heavy duty developmental. I'll give you what's called what did she call it again? I forget what it was.
Like
It
a
was more,
letter, editorial letter or something.
no, but
Editorial review,
it
editor
was kind of
assessment.
more of an overview. So
Yeah.
that's what she did for the first go around. So I guess that's partially why. And again, I poured myself into the book. I've rearranged things. It took me 13 years. So I think that's part of why by the time she got it, she felt it was pretty good what it needed to be, and then she gave me what she felt. Now, if I
Yeah.
get just like you said, if I gave my copy to an editor and I said I don't feel like I need a developmental, but she or he came back and said you do need a develop, then I would go ahead and listen to them. So I'm not
Mm.
against it, but I just don't think that it's always necessary. And again, I'm being backed up by things I've heard many, many people say in the publishing world. So it depends on the situation, I think.
But we have a question from Lauren that I definitely do want to answer. So let me ask that question as well. Thank you for your take on that. I'll resist the temptation to put my 2 cents in to the
You can
developmental
tell me
editor
later.
question. Yeah, maybe I'll add it to the show notes. But Lauren Phillips says to us that she joined a bit late, so she wasn't sure if we covered it. But I think it's good to take it as a standalone question. As a new writer now starting out in Guyana, how can I publish my books locally and internationally? I think that question goes directly to Jasmine.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So Lorraine, congratulations on your aspiration to be published. So in Guyana, the only option available is independent publishing. So of course but what I would encourage you to do first and foremost is just sit down and do some studying of the novel writing process, all the steps that are involved, because it's something that's one of the things that took me so long because I got to the next stage and didn't know what was next, and then I had to learn what that is. So I can help you to understand what those steps are from beginning to end, but some personal research is necessary. But of course, in a nutshell, what I can tell you is when you're finished with your first draft, you need to go into editing. And when you as the discussion will tell you, depending on who you are, it'll be what kind of editing you look at, right? But that involves your copy editing, your developmental editing, your substantive editing, and all those different things. Then you get into your beta readers. Your beta readers are kind of like the persons before you get published to tell you what's working, what's not working from a reader perspective, and then you can do some of the changes. After that, you do some more polishing, and I mean, I can go on and on. But once you get to that publishing point, getting an ISBN is important, and I think that's one of the other questions in the chat, and I'll answer that from a Guyana perspective. ISBNs are based on your geography. So for Guyana, or in the Caribbean, I believe, the CARICOM Secretariat is who would issue your ISBNs. I can share that information with you if you'd like to apply for one, or you can apply for a block of 10, because every version of your book requires an ISBN. So your ebook, your paperback, if you're going into hardcover, so that's 3 ISBNs already. And again, from there, you get into your marketing. I always encourage you to hire a small marketing team to help you, especially since social media is the main platform for Guyana and the Caribbean. So again, it can go on, and I'd love to talk to you more directly if you'd like some help with it. So yeah, I hope I answered at least part of your question.
Yeah. So maybe to add to that question a little bit in terms of publishing internationally, there are platforms you can sign up to, like for instance Amazon, Apple, others, and once you have your book all formatted and you've done the research to work out what kind of keywords you want to use, and you've written a blurb that you've checked with other people, that it's a good blurb, and so when you've gone through all the processes, nothing is stopping you from publishing internationally in terms of your digital book. But you just want to make sure you do it properly and that you don't rush it.
Yeah.
And that because there's a certain amount of infrastructure that you need to put in place before that book is released. For instance, if your book is released and nobody's read it in advance and you have 0 reviews and you haven't, then it's hard for the platforms algorithms to send that book out there. So there's a lot of work involved besides just writing the book. The self-publishing a digital book, though, is something anyone can do from anywhere in the world. That part is certain. It's just a matter of taking the time to do the research so that you do it properly. In the UK, and the other trick is that companies like Amazon and even Ingram Spark are quick to offer you an ISBN. But if you get their free ISBN, you will be limited to publishing that book with them, and that limits you a lot.
That's why I didn't even give her that option.
That's not even an option. Do not ever take a free ISBN.
No.
No. And then I think as well, know that Amazon is perhaps for an independent publisher. Amazon is a great entry point because it does make your book available through all of Amazon's platforms globally. I have found that I don't know, it depends on your book. Look, there's nothing that you can do that you cannot try something new at a different point. So if you're on Kindle Unlimited, you can come out of Kindle Unlimited after 90 days and go wider. You can use platforms like Ingram Spark, although I don't use Ingram Spark's digital. I use Drafted Digital, which is another platform that you can use. You can go to the individual ones as well. I like Drafted Digital because it covers a lot of different platforms globally from an ebook perspective. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with staying with Amazon because from my experience, that's where most of your book sales are going to come from anyway. And then later on, as you develop your audience, etc., you can go wider and come out of things. And you can go back on. I've seen writers recently that they may come out for a certain amount of time and go back in because they just find it to be better.
Yeah.
For clarification, Scarlett, you're talking about going back into Amazon Kindle Unlimited, right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. You can have an ebook on Amazon and not be on Kindle Unlimited and being all these other things. But if you're in Kindle Unlimited, you can go to Drafted Digital to get your books into libraries, but that's it. You can't get into the other retail platforms.
All right, we are coming close to 9 o'clock, and I think we've done quite a marathon here. Chatting for 2 hours, and still there's so much more that could be said. This is definitely not a sort of crash course that makes you an expert, but for many of you on the chat, you may already be somewhat familiar with some of this, but there are bound to be people coming to this podcast for the first time with, starting at the very beginning. So I just want to say there's a lot more to learn. Let me check to see if we have any more questions. I'm not seeing any more questions, but we've got a few more minutes. So if you've got anything, don't hesitate.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure, Dale.
So, and maybe this is, I don't know if you're going to do like a wrap up type. So I'll make my wrap up comment now.
Yeah, sure.
Just, I know a lot of this can be overwhelming. Like, what the heck? I just wanted to write a book,
Yeah.
Write the book, and then take it one step at a time. I remember when I was going through, after I had written the book and I was going through the whole process, I had a list of all the things I needed to do, and I would get overwhelmed and I'd say, stop. Dale, what's the next step you have to take?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd take that step, and then I'd take a sigh. And then, I just kept working through it that way till I got to the end of it. So if you're writing the book, just focus on writing the book, although it wouldn't be a bad thing to try to build your email list sooner than later. But, yeah, that's the focus, is get your book written and then take it one step at a time.
Thank you, Dale. I think those are wise words, very wise words as we come to it.
That's why I have gray hair.
Well, I don't know. I have gray hair too.
I have gray hair too.
True. Well, you are wise.
Okay, I do want to echo Dale's comments and just say that I think that's one of the beautiful things of the independent journey, because for me, I'm someone who always gets anxious, and the beautiful thing is that you control this journey, and it's okay if something is not coming up to a specific timeline, you can shift it, because it's your journey, it's your book, it's your baby. So I think that's just one of the things I've really been able to appreciate. Amanda, I know there was a question I saw at some point if, we were to be offered traditional publishing, if we would take it. I can't even answer that question immediately. It's tempting, but I've realized that where the traditional publishing industry is right now is very subjective. And, I don't want anybody to give all of this scrutiny to my story that I've put my heart and soul in and not give it a chance. So I don't know if I would ever go traditional publishing, but of course it's something that I'm open to. But the independent journey really has been such a gift, and it really has made me fall in love with writing all over again, as though I didn't even think it could be possible. So that would be my closing sentiment.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is so
Beautiful.
beautiful. I think, wow. Look, just taking off his glasses. I think he's got some tears to wipe. Let's see if there's one more question. Oh, Karen's writing an offer.
Oh.
Wow. What is this? Let's see. Let's read it in the chat. I'll read it. Thank you, Scarlet, for the invitation. I have to leave now, but I truly enjoyed today's session. Thank you so much for coming, Karen. I'm Karen Francisco, a radio broadcaster in Trinidad and Tobago and host of the Saturday Reset on Talk City 91.1 FM, featuring the book. Hang on.
Featuring the book club. She has a book club.
Yeah, keep reading it because my thing is stuck.
And then Jasmine likes my voice, but featuring the book club, Talk City 91.1. I did have the pleasure of being on Karen's show, and it's a lovely, lovely endeavor where we interview Caribbean authors. There she is, Karen.
Oh, hi, Karen. Give us a
like to be
wave.
featured,
Hey, Karen.
connect with her. Yes. Do you want to come off, Karen, and share your beautiful voice with us?
Yes, I have a few more minutes. Good afternoon or good night, wherever you are.
Take it away.
It is a huge passion of mine for everyone, and it started off where it's just Trinidad authors, and I got to interview a Jamaican author, Dr. Euphemia Burke. I think that's the name. I hope I'm saying her name right. And that just made me like, wait a minute. I opened up to the possibility of Caribbean authors, and I just feel like we should all kind of band together. So I just have this passion that every child should be exposed to different authors from around the Caribbean, around the world. So I just doing my part too.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Karen. Sorry you have to go, but it was a lovely surprise to see you join us today. And Karen's put her email there so all of us can get in touch. Yeah. Just I don't know, Karen, if you need to go, but if you can stay, I'm happy to just share at this point that Karen's invited me to the day before my launch to be on her radio program, so I'm really looking forward to that. Karen, I'll be in England though, so it'll be remote. I'm so sorry I can't be there in person. Yeah,
Karen, is a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Absolutely. Look, for one of the things we didn't talk about that I believe that if you're an independent, if you're planning to publish independently, you should be aware of, there are many, many people who are trying to separate you from your money. And so I would say that almost as soon as you publish anything, I actually took the contact form off of my website because I was getting way too many folks who were telling me how brilliant and lovely and amazing my book is. And although they're right, I think that's
great.
Yes, they want to put me into this book club, and they want to do the first thing that I do as a thing is I look at and that's another reason for your website, because you don't want to have just a Gmail. I look at the handle of their email, and if it's Gmail, I immediately block them, like immediately. And so I do not respond to any of those. You may want to sit through them, but I'm telling you, you may get
all
dozens
scams
a day, dozens a day. And
Scarlett, here's a quick joke. I got emails from J.K. Rowling and James Patterson. Okay,
me too, girl. Me too. All these
who were just browsing and came across my book.
Your amazing book, which it is. However, it's not them. It's not them. So I just want to say that you do have to keep your wits about you because of AI.
Yeah,
Some of them really know your book very well, and they're trying to
very
hoodwink
important.
you.
Yeah.
And so just if something is too good to be true, trust that it is too good to be true. Also,
I think the
Yeah.
basic rule is if you need a service, you do your research and you find the service. If the service is coming to you, that's probably suspicious.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's a
exactly.
good one. Yeah,
Yeah,
good
yeah.
approach.
Well, it's been lovely, everyone. And even though we know we could keep
Wonderful.
chatting, we also know we need to say good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. So, thank you very much to all our guests, all our participants, all the panelists. We've had a lovely conversation, and we hope that if you're thinking of indie publishing your book, that we've given you some bits and pieces of information to chew on and to go and do further research. And remember to make your author friends in the author community. That's really important. You're very welcome.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you
Take
so much,
care.
Amanda, for this platform. Thank you
Yeah,
for the time, everyone.
Yes.
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
guys.
Take care. And have a good
Bye.
goodbye.
evening,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.